Baptist Church, Reynolds Avenue, Norfolk, gcfbaptistchurch.org. Dr. Cook Houston Sr., founder and senior pastor, Praise Radio. Oh, the day is flying by and we have had a busy one. First of all, got to say congratulations to Arisha Wilson of Chesapeake. She won her tickets to the Andrew Shannon Gospel Music Weekend celebration featuring the Southeast Community Day Parade Festival in Newport News. We'll have some more to give away this week. But right now, it is time for Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Rawlings. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you after missing you last week.
So. Yes, I know. Everything going good with you?
Everything's going well, just taking care of the things of life and waiting for his return.
Right. So what have you got good for us today? Because I know you've got something good.
Well, I wanted to continue on something we've done for the last couple of weeks, because this is really the heart of the book, Killing Me Softly, and to continue to talk about abortion in this country and how it has affected the black community in so many ways. So we want to keep talking about that. It's a history lesson. And I'll tell you, there will be a lot of just reading from my part. And I say that because I certainly have an opinion, but I like to stick with historic facts and figures as much as I can, because those are hard to argue. And then if we have time at the end, I got an email from a nice lady who asked if I would give my opinion on the vaccine.
Oh, continuation of the last program.
Oh, really? Yeah, well,
that's
because I'm sorry I missed that then, because obviously I am not a doctor and I am not an expert in any of these things, but I have an opinion, and the whole idea of Cordial Conversations is that we can talk of any topic. It doesn't matter. Let's talk about it, and let's learn from each other, and let's respect each other. So I can give a little bit of my opinion, but I would really like to hear some callers, and maybe they've all done that in the last hour, and also with the emails, if there's something you'd like to talk about, whatever, I really appreciate that.
Give out your email.
Rawlings, Rawlings, MT, at cordialconversations.com. And if you are watching this via YouTube, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. And you can go to my website, Cordial Conversations. You can go to Amazon.com and pick up any of the 3 books that I've written. And I can't encourage you strongly enough to pick up Killing Me Softly. And the reason is, as you'll see and have seen, there are so many quotes from people. There are so many historical facts. And you just can't remember all those as you listen to the station. It's hard to write quickly enough. But I had one leader in the community that went and bought 50 of Killing Me Softly to hand it out. And
congratulations, that's excellent.
Yeah, we had another one that bought 20, and they said, yeah, we're going to have our people go through it. We're going to talk about it, debate it, whatever. And so even if you disagree, it's good information to be able to talk to your children about.
And you can get your book by going to Amazon.com. That's Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community. Killing Me Softly by Todd Rawlings. America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community on Amazon.com today. Or you can email him at rawlingsmt@verizon.net. That's Rawlings, MT, M as in man, T as in Tom, at Verizon.net.
Okay, well, just to back up a little bit, if you've not listened to the other shows that we talked about this, I am coming with the premise that our government has been involved in population control for years and years. I believe that there are things, especially within the black community, that our government has done to control the population. And I believe that the main weapon that they have is abortion, and that they have targeted young mothers in distress in an attempt to get them to have that abortion. Now, if you don't believe me, again, we'll read some comments here. This is something I had read, but this was from a tape. It's an actual tape. It's a historic fact from President Nixon. And he said a majority of people in Colorado voted for abortion. I think a majority of people in Michigan are for abortion. I think in both cases, well, certainly in Michigan, they will vote for it because they think that's what's going to be aborted generally, are the little, he had a reference, a name I won't say, little black will say babies, but he used another word. And then on this tape, 700-10, as I told you, and we talked about it earlier, that a heck of a lot, I won't use the other word because Coco, a good Christian girl, that a heck of a lot of people want,
I don't know about all that.
people want to control all the Negro, and then again a derogatory word. A staff member said, yeah. And President Nixon said, you know what we're talking about, population control. And the person he was talking with said, well, sure. So even then, as they talked about abortion, that people were looking at it as a way to get rid of certain people in society. At times, there were barbaric views of black people, their intelligence, their competence. It was completely absurd. But because of that, they argued that we need to control the population. And some people even said that we need to get rid of the black community completely. So I'll hit a couple more quotes here. A person by the name of Margaret Sanger, she was the founder of the American Birth Control League, who worked closely with the government during the time. She said, we are paying for and even submitting to the dictates of an ever-increasing class of humans that never should have been born at all. Dr. Clarence Gordon of the American Eugenics Research Association, and eugenics, they call it positive eugenics, that they wanted to just breed and produce quality people and get rid of those that fall short, and very much like what Adolf Hitler was doing, he wanted to do. He said, the leader of the German nation, Adolf Hitler, has been able to construct a comprehensive racial policy of population development and improvement. The difference between the Jew and the Aryan is as insurmountable as that between black and white. Germany has set a pattern which other nations must follow. And again, he was the president of the American Eugenics Research Association. Lothrop Stoddard, the director of the American Birth Control League, just said this: non-white are excluded from America. Now, this is the thoughts of the time, and this is within the scientific community. And again, if you would just take a sip of your coffee and listen to some of these thoughts and statistics. This same man, again, the director of the American Birth Control League, met with Adolf Hitler. The American Birth Control League headed the movement to limit the reproduction of inferior groups. Now again, this was led by Margaret Sanger. Code words were used. The American Birth Control League were seeking to eliminate criminals, feeble-minded, poor, and the impoverished. Nazi school textbooks featured the philosophy of Lothrop Stoddard, who was the director of the American Birth Control League. So they adopted this man's views and put them in textbooks in school. In 1927, Union Fisher called for the eradication of blacks at the World Population Conference. All nations represented across the world, and he advocated that we must get rid of the black people in this world. In 1936, Harry Laughlin published plans for forced sterilization against degenerate offspring in the Birth Control Review. Laughlin was praised in a Nazi newspaper for his contribution to the Nazi eugenics effort. He was awarded as an honorary degree in Heidelberg. Adolf, I'm sorry, Ernst Rudin was named president of the International Federation of Eugenics, and Adolf Hitler chose him to write Germany's eugenics laws. So when you look at what happened in Germany through the Nazi regime, those laws of eugenics were written by people within the United States. And then finally, Margaret Sanger stressed for a need for farms and open spaces where the illiterate, unemployed, and poor should be sent there. These are all historic facts. These are all people, some of them famous people, some you may have heard of before. But within the idea of birth control and eugenics and sterilization, these people were obsessed with race. Now that's important to understand because, all of this, it did not come from a woman's rights over her own body. It came from a group of degenerate people who were completely obsessed with race. Goals of controlling the population of the feeble-minded criminals, etc., were going to need to be championed under the name of something other than eugenics. So the term eugenics carried a negative connotation. It was stamped on everything. They were pushing it. So they decided this was not going to work well, so they started instead putting names within their organization such as planning. Well, we're planning families. Those involved in these things were obsessed with race. In the 1920s, Margaret Sanger tried to merge the American Birth Control League with American Eugenics Society. She spoke at several KKK meetings. She was a popular speaker in the ranks, and they loved to hear her. Now, again, I want to keep saying it, but this person, the founder of the American Birth Control League, went around the country speaking to members of the KKK. So here's a long quote from a fellow by the name of Garner Mirador, but it's important. Commonly, it is considered a great misfortune for America that Negro slaves were ever imported. The presence of Negroes in America today is usually considered a plight on our nation. All white Americans agree that if the Negro is to be eliminated, he must be eliminated slowly, so as not to hurt any living individual Negroes. The only possible way of decreasing Negro population is by means of controlling fertility. Birth control facilities could be extended relatively more to Negroes than to whites, since Negroes are more concentrated in lower income and educated, in lower educated classes. And then finally, Donald Winkler, of the same thing, said, "We will do it by force." Now Margaret Sanger, our hero, said the world and almost our civilization for the next 25 years is going to depend upon a cheap, safe contraceptive to be used in poverty-stricken areas, slums, jungles, most ignorant people. Even this will not be sufficient. We need a national sterilization for certain types of our population who are being encouraged to breed and would die out if the government didn't feed them.
Excuse me, did you read Margaret Sanger, our hero, or were you saying that?
I was saying that sarcastically.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry to say it, but she's at the center of so much of this in the movement and working with Nazis and working with these groups. So please forgive me my sarcasm.
Okay.
The belief within eugenics movement was that feeble-mindedness was hereditary. And at the time, they were sterilizing children as young as 8 years old within the black community. They were doing it legally. It was a process. People were advocating for it. In Oregon in the 1970s, 60,000 people were sterilized, mostly black. In 1939, the American Birth Control League, founded by Margaret Sanger, who is not our hero, merged with the first legal birth control clinic in the United States. The Birth Control Clinic Research Bureau. In 1942, the Birth Control Federation of America changed its name And for all of these things, all these quotes, all this work, whatever, they changed your name to a softer name. They call themselves the Planned Parenthood Federation of America. I'll let that sink in for 1 second.
Well, you take your sip of coffee, but listen, you are in the Cordial Conversations Hour with Todd Rawlings. He is the author of Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda Against the Black Community, and it was birthed from a deep passion for the Black community. It exposes the U.S. government's many decisions over the years that have negatively affected the Black community. One of the deep challenges that we face with those who seek to do damage to the Black community is a lack of knowledge. Agendas are hidden. We are told what others want us to know. And this book is available on Amazon.com. Please get your copy today.
Okay, well, then we need to move into the present, because it could be said and argued, well, all of these things happened before we were intelligent enough to understand it. Planned Parenthood has changed so much. It's no longer trying to get rid of certain races. It's no longer targeting people to control their population. And that would be the general argument. So once again, I know I've read a lot, but I want to read a fictitious story that's based on facts that is in chapter 8 of the book. It is by far the most exciting thing you have ever done. Is this really happening? Is time travel real? Is space travel real? You have volunteered and been chosen to try out a top secret ship. They're somewhat vague as to where you're going. They're hoping to jet you across the universe. They have said you may actually travel through time. They will put you to sleep, and once you wake up, you'll be in a strange place. It's possible that you may even end up in a place very similar to where you are now. You may experience another world like ours. You may come face to face with a doppelganger. You say goodbye to your friends and family. Today is the day. You're put to sleep. You may be asleep for 25 days or 25 years. They still don't know. It's an experiment. Regardless, it will seem as though you have just fallen asleep and waken up. You will wake up in a different world. The chances of you coming back are real but slim. Once in the ship, you're slowly put to sleep, and then you wake up. As you depart your ship, you're relieved that where you have gone is not a lot different than where you left. It looks familiar. You're relieved that you can breathe the air. As you wander into the city, you hear people speaking your language. They're dressed for the most part like you. You even find a coffee shop and you listen to the two people beside you talking. You're excited to hear that they're talking about the advancements in our society and how far we've come. This is the most advanced society at the moment of all other societies in history, they say. What a relief. You're filled with excitement. What to do now? As you continue to wonder, you're approached by a young man. He asks if you're lost. You quickly make up a story. Your car broke down and you have walked into town. You're looking to get a bite to eat and get some help with your car. This young man offers the help of him and his mother. He offers to take you to her place of work where you can wait until she gets off. You enter this nice building and meet his mother. She's a very nice lady and offers to let you take the tour while you wait. You're placed in a room. At some point you wander out to go to the restroom. There's a conversation you overhear coming from an office. Since you are there to gather information, you stop to listen. And it goes like this. I'm excited to contribute to your organization. You are doing such good work. Well, thank you. We're very proud of our work. It is very rewarding. I'm sure it is. I do want to make sure I understand how this works. As we discussed, I'm very interested in seeing my contribution go toward the Black community. So again, that's not a problem? Oh, no, not at all. We have a lot of people that direct for contributions. If that is where you want it to go, that is where it will go. That is very refreshing to hear. So if I want to direct all to 4 or 5 or 10 black families, you will see that it gets there? Absolutely. You have my word. How refreshing this was. This is a very advanced society. You're glad they seem to not have the racial challenges like the ones back home. Whatever this organization does, there is at least one person that wants the black community to be a recipient of their services. That's just great. After your restroom break, you make it back to a room where a nice young man is starting a video presentation. He explains there are several segments and each person is allowed to watch all or none. A woman is introduced as the founder of the organization. It was started decades ago. The film is in black and white. This woman seems intelligent. She talks of her work in population control. She explains the need of controlled populations around the world and the significance of limiting certain races and making sure the superior races continue to grow. She even suggested elimination of certain races altogether. She discusses her work with Germans, and their program has been geared to just that. And not only limiting certain races, but in getting rid of them altogether. She even explains what needs to be done if we are to completely do away with the black conversation. This seemingly well-educated woman explains how the black population especially produces imbeciles, criminals, people left to themselves without white people supporting them could not survive. This organization, the Birth Control League, is leading the move to limit the number of black people, not only in this country, but in others. They're doing this by educating the unintelligent in birth control and in many cases having young black women sterilized. She expressed how this has to be forced in many cases. She stressed how in the future, more aggressive steps will need to be taken to limit certain populations. She's very proud of this movement and the organization she has founded. Her work has been studied and supported by the Nazis in general and the KKK in this country. You are shocked, to say the least. You fully expect someone to interrupt and explain how the current organization has confronted her and led the charge against her. Instead, those around the room are nodding in approval. After her presentation, there's a rousing round of applause. There's a break, and anyone interested is invited back for the next segment.
And speaking of breaks.
Okay, hold that thought.
Quickly, yes, we have to take a quick break, but we will be right back with Cordial Conversations with Todd Rawlings right here on Praise. Don't you go anywhere.
Hi, this is Tim Reed, and you are plugged in to Praise.
My name is Carlton Kent. I retired as a 16th Sergeant Major in the Marine Corps.
So is this, what is this excerpt from?
This is from chapter 8
In the book, right?
of the book. And I know it's a long excerpt, but I feel like it needs to be read, and maybe it'll cause people to want to pick up the book as well. But so no, a lot of reading, but hopefully people are listening to the radio, sitting back and being able to enjoy it or watching it on YouTube.
Yep. Okay.
Simplify Fund and America's Fund is an organization that understands the heart of combat. I ask you to reach out to the Simplify America's Fund because they have the resources and the capabilities to assist you.
Does your small business need a boost? We can all use a little help, and Diversified Strategies will fill in the gaps and provide resources to take you and your business to the next level. They offer mentoring and consulting for all types of businesses. Contact them at 757-201-3091 or online at DearyStrategies.com. Whether you need support in one or multiple areas, Diversified Strategies will work with you to make sure you're successful. They offer strategies to improve sales, productivity, organization, company culture, and employee relations, all for an affordable rate. Diversified Strategies is waiting to hear from you and get you started. Be in business for yourself, not
So are
by
you going
yourself.
into anything about the vaccine?
I am. I think I'm going to read this last section because it's been so much that I'm going to just get away from the abortion topic today. Just because there's been so much trying to throw at people and reading and what have you. So, and I think I could leave it with a pretty dramatic ending, and then we'll talk about the vaccine. That'll be fun because that's all philosophy on my side. So you probably have a lot more facts. That'll be good. You can teach me. You just did a show on it.
I just do my research like you do. Do the same thing and bring it to the table.
It is sad though because the information is not hard to find, except for the fact that people hide it so well and
Well, they
spin it.
hide it right in your face.
Yeah, and they spin it, and just until, sarcastically, these people are heroes, and of women's rights, of things like that, and to be quite honest, they were murderers. I mean, even if a little movie was made of all this, it'd have to be rated R because of the violence and the murders.
Yeah.
So, and it is a shame because, we'll see a later show, the amount of money that is spent now targeting the black community in this. I mean, by far, millions more dollars going to see young black women have abortions than young white women. And we don't like to think of our government in that way. We don't like to think of them in that way, but unfortunately, that's the reality.
Learn about us, check out the features we bring to you daily, submit your prayer requests, take advantage of marketing opportunities, a place to submit music, the hub to connect with us socially, and a place to put faces to the voices you hear on the station. All things praise. Check us out, praise1049.com.
And we're back with Cordial Conversations with Todd Rawlings, and he was reading an excerpt from his book. And you can order his book, Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community. You can order it. It is available on Amazon.com or email him at Rawlings, M as in man, T as in Tom, at Verizon.net. That's Rawlings, MT at Verizon.net. All right, you can continue, Pastor.
Okay, well, we are reading a fictitious happening that was based on facts and historical things that have taken place. And we are reading an excerpt from a young man who was part of an experiment, and he was put in what he thought may be a time machine. And so then he woke up and he's explaining this new world and this new society that he's found. And so we're going to read that, and then we're going to shift topics today just because I've read a lot. But I also encourage you, as you listen to this, please pick up the book so that you can read it yourself, so that you can share it with other people, because we really need to expose the things that are happening in this country and not support people that have helped to bring them about. In the early part of the civil rights movement, virtually all the civil rights leaders were appalled by abortion. Even Reverend Jesse Jackson took a strong stand and to say this is nothing but genocide for the black community. He pounded that over and over and over until it was time to run for an office, and then he changed his position. But we can find tons of, and so many have. So many have changed, and just depending on what it takes to get our votes. So here we are. What has happened? Where are you? During the break, you quickly open the literature you've been given. You find that millions upon millions of unborn babies have been murdered. But there is more to it than that. By doing some quick calculations, you find that though the black community makes up roughly 13.5% of the population, 19 million, almost 40% of all abortions done in this country were done to black babies. A map showing the location of the various abortion clinics reveals that they are overwhelmingly within walking distance of the black communities, as though blacks are somehow being targeted. The words of this woman are almost prophetic. By limiting the number of babies born in the black communities, this organization has been successful in controlling the black population, while allowing the white population to expand with no limitations. This woman's dreams are becoming reality. You're weak in your knees. How can this be? It's now time to start the next segment. You're shown videos of babies being aborted. At times, limbs are torn off of the babies. The mother has a procedure to limit the pain, but the baby has none. At times, the poison is injected into the baby, much like a lethal injection for someone on death row. The baby struggles, open wide its mouth as if to scream. And of course it cannot, and dies. Sometimes the babies are cut in small pieces and removed a piece at a time. There are surgeries done to harvest body parts of the babies. This organization obtains a great deal of funding by selling these body parts. During a period of time, what was known as partial birth abortions were legal. Now, I've shared this before, and you may want to turn down your radio. This may make you cringe, but this is really what has happened. The example of this is a full-term baby's body is partially delivered.
Well, okay, so what chapter is this in the
This is in chapter 8.
This is in
Yeah.
chapter 8. I'm sorry. I apologize. I can't fast him now. I just can't.
We can't do that?
I just can't. It's just too gruesome. I just can't take it. I know you'll be upset with me, but that is just, that much that you read just almost has me in tears, and I have to stay professional, so.
Okay, well, I understand what you're saying. You know, at the same
Skip past
time.
the gory part and get to the gist of it, and not the.
Okay, I'll try to water it down here a little bit, but at the same time, this is something that was debated over and over by politicians, and people ran their campaigns on the desire to keep this legal. And so the cut down version is basically that the baby is partially born, and then once it's partially born, it's not legally yet considered a baby, even at 8-9 months. And so anything and everything can and was done to these babies. Were done to these babies. And so people fought, and unfortunately, maybe some of the people that we have voted for, you know, we and I understand, Coco, and we may not, it's not fun to hear these things.
But I do want the people to get the book
Sure.
so that they can read it for themselves, you know,
Sure.
something that I just can't hear right now, but.
No, I understand it, but it also, again, without going into detail, it's important to know what the people that you vote for believe. And they believe that this should happen. So something that's hard to talk about, I want to talk about with younger kids even. Something that's hard for us to talk about are things that are put into law by people that we vote for. Okay, I'll go a little bit further. So, but please go to chapter 8, or you can email me and I'll send you a piece of that part of it. But this procedure was banned by Congress in 2003. The Supreme Court upheld the ban in 2007. However, within the video, there is an explanation as to how they have found ways around the law. They're proud of this because it is the only way to harvest certain body parts for sale and distribution. There are videos shown of the great work they're doing by showing the eyeballs, livers, kidneys, and hearts of those unborn babies taken out and put in a tray. They are then carried out and delivered to the buyer. Of great interest to you is the disproportionate number of black babies that are seen in the video. This is not so much the sheer number of abortions, but the number of black babies in comparison to the overall population. Black babies are killed, often mutilated, and have had body parts surgically removed for what must be an overwhelmingly number of white people to benefit from. You run from the room. You sprint to the first door that is not labeled exit. You barely make it outside as you begin to throw up. The picture of a baby being born with his eyes having been removed is something you will never be able to get out of your mind. As you continue to vomit, you notice the large silver container that you have your hand on to steady yourself. As you pull yourself up and look in, you see in dozens of dead babies. Half are white and slightly less than half are black. These babies are missing limbs. These babies have been sliced down the middle. And I will skip this next part as respect to Coco. But there are black twins laying beside each other, just taken in their sleep and laid there. You're quickly escorted inside, being told you are not to be out there. This is where the fetuses are taken before being removed from the property. You're reminded that each fetus you have been represents a tremendous service this organization does for hurting individuals and the freedom that it gives so many women. Without them, these women would have nowhere to go. You're reminded that this organization is responsible for over 330,000 of these abortions every single year. What surprised you the most is you are told this with great pride and enthusiasm. In somewhat of a stupor, you walk to the front of the building. What have you come to? What world is this? How could people be so cruel in what appears to be a modern world? What type of society is this? How could you have ended up in such a barbaric place? As you walk outside, you wander down the street and recognize the facility you have so often come to see and walk by. And you realize that the ship experiment did not work. You went nowhere. You are home. Welcome to the United States of America in 2021. Welcome to Planned Parenthood.
And it's chapter 8 of Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community. You can order it on Amazon.com or email Pastor Todd Rawlings at rawlingsmt@verizon.net. Again, that's rawlingsmt@verizon.net.
Coco, thank you so much for interrupting me there too. It's in the book, and you need to get it, and you need to read the book. But at the same time, I do understand, especially we could have people listening to this with their young children, and so I appreciate you holding me accountable. So thank you so much for that.
And if if your stomach can handle it, then get the book. Get the book. Go to Amazon.com. The book is good. That's just one chapter of it, and the whole book is not like that. That's just a chapter, and it's basically showing and exposing the U.S. government's many decisions over the years that have negatively impacted the Black community.
Well, and to see how the government even defends such things and keeps people from knowing such things. There was a covert operation that a group of people did, and they worked within Planned Parenthood. They took pictures, they took videos, and they had proof of people negotiating the sale of body parts. They had people talking about what price they would get for this, talking whatever within Planned Parenthood. This was brought out and exposed to all of America. And do you know what we did?
Ignored it.
No, we prosecuted the people who exposed it.
Oh, instead of the people who did it.
Instead of the people who did it. And I don't want to get too political, but the person that headed that up is currently the Vice President of the United States.
Oh, Kamala? Mm-hmm.
She is the one that worked hard to prosecute the person that had exposed these things.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that, it was shut down. They couldn't share the information anymore. They couldn't talk about it, whatever. And once again, it swept under the rug, and we're back where we started.
Mm-hmm. And what I implore our listeners to do, you don't have to believe anything anybody tells you, but at least go and research stuff for yourself.
Absolutely.
Even the Bible, when the preachers are preaching to you, are you getting into the Bible and researching and studying for yourself, or are you just waiting till the end of the week or the beginning of the week, however you want to look at Sunday, and waiting for this man to get up in the pulpit and tell you what thus says the Lord? Or are you going in the Bible and reading it for yourself? So this information that Pastor Rawlings is giving you is researchable. All you have to do is Google it. Just ask the right questions. It'll come up.
Well, and then try to share the parts that are just my opinion, but I would just say, because of what I've researched and because of what I've found, for me, to be a Christian and to vote for people that push these things to happen is, I cannot understand that.
Well, because they lied to get the vote, and then once they get the vote, they switch up.
Yeah.
Their true colors come out.
And at the same time,
No pun intended.
At the same time, I want to say, if you're out there and you have been involved with an abortion, Christ forgives us for anything and everything. And you cannot continue to carry any of that guilt or any of that pain or let the enemy push you down. Regardless, I mean, even that, Jesus took on the cross to die for. And so please, and don't try to set it aside as if this will relieve my guilt. Here's the bottom line. We're all guilty. Every one of us. And if we confess our sins to him, he'll be faithful and just to forgive them. So, if you would like to call in for prayer, go to someone in your church, go to a pastor, and please do not take a lot of condemnation, even though these things were read and exposed. Please don't. We are here and we love you and we offer forgiveness. And I think as we read further in the book, and we won't do that today, but I think one of the major problems is the church and Christians in this country, because we don't provide an alternative enough. We're willing to build big buildings, to put marble walls on our buildings, whatever, but we're not willing to help a young black couple or a young black woman that we can somehow walk them through this and support them and take care of them. We don't. And so even for us to pound the table like I do over abortion, we also have to understand, if we don't give an alternative, and it is not a Christ-like alternative, then I believe we have to carry some of that guilt. We just cannot go around telling people things are wrong and then not helping the poor, the orphans, the widows. So I stand ashamedly taking part of this responsibility. I wish I had done more. I'll try to do more, whatever. But at the end of the day, it is not our government's responsibility to take care of these individuals. It is the Church of Jesus Christ. That is what we are. We're the salt of the world, the light of the world. And we're here to represent him and to be his hands and feet. And when we fail to do that, then these things start happening.
So once again, this is Cordial Conversations with Todd Rawlings. We've got about 3 minutes to take a phone call. If you'd like to call in, chime in on what's been said so far, the number is 454-1650, 454-1650. You also we only have like 2 minutes, though. You wanted to touch on the vaccine.
Oh, I only have 2 minutes for the...
Well, we have 2 minutes before we go to break, and then we'll have another...
Oh, then we can come back. Okay. Yeah, and I would like to say, if that's something you would like to talk about, and I know like today is very heavy and may even seem a little depressing, but we can have shows on whatever you want, as long as we're cordial about it.
Touch on the vaccines in the book, because the vaccines have been going on since what, the 50s?
Prophetically.
Prophetically, okay.
That that here's the possibility, here are the things we need to look at. And I'll touch on that again today as to why I think that those things actually came true, that were talked about in the book concerning the vaccine, and how much that vaccine disproportionately affects the black community. At some point, we have to, who was the comedian years ago that would say, well, there's things that make you go,
Oh, yeah. It wasn't
Arsenio Hall.
Yes, Arsenio Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it's pulling us apart and it's not bringing us together. And whether I decide to get the vaccine or not, you're going to treat me a certain way. It's almost like racism, almost. They have the vaccine. Oh, they don't have the vaccine. And we standing on this side of the fence and they're standing on that side of the fence. And it's doing nothing to bring us together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then you've got Haiti, and then you've got New Orleans, and then you've got Afghanistan, and you've got the vaccines, and it's like, oh my goodness. But is this a repeat in history? Because I do remember back in the 60s, some of this stuff was still going on, and here we are 50-some years later.
Absolutely.
And time is repeating itself. It's time to move the needle now, I think.
Well, it really is. And with the things that you mentioned, thank you for bringing those up, because we we are able through Christ to come into the throne room of God. And more than ever, people in Afghanistan, people who have gone through this hurricane, they need our prayers.
Yes.
And we need to lift them up, and we forget race, forget gender, forget everything, and bind together as believers to pray for these people. But again, not just pray, as I said earlier, do something.
Yeah, exactly. Action speaks louder than words.
Yeah.
So we're going to come right back and take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more Cordial Conversations with Todd Rawlings. Don't you go anywhere. You're on Praise.
Hey, this is your girl, Danielle Buddy Bryant. And we're plugged into Praise.
Bad credit, low credit score, can't qualify for the things you want.
Time goes by very, very fast.
It does. I know that was reading a lot, but that's the heart of a lot of what we're talking about. And then I hope to get off this topic within the next 2 sessions. And then we are going to have some refreshing discussions about what we can do.
Solutions.
And
Yes.
really push callers to call in. What do you think? Give us a solution. Let's brainstorm about this. What can we do? And I think, with that is going to be, you've probably seen already, a lot of information for the church. We need to step up.
The church, there's a church on every corner. What is going on?
And yeah, again, we can pound the pulpit on these topics, but then walk out the door and not do it. And
I got to pose it to you because I'm posing the question to every pastor that comes through. So, who is the ruler of hell?
oh, there is none.
Why not?
No one's in charge. Everyone's,
There's no ruler of hell.
I don't believe so. I mean, maybe I missed it. Good, tell me what.
No, I mean, I just want you to
The ruler
Who is the king now? Who is the ruler?
of hell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You've got me. You stumped me in this.
Really? And every pastor says the same thing. One did think about it and said, oh, but the ruler of hell is Jesus. Because he took the keys from Satan, right?
Okay.
And he does claim to be the king of all kings. He's the king of kings.
Okay.
He took the keys.
Well, you make an excellent point. My counter may be that I think the very worst thing about hell is being separated from the Lord.
But isn't there a scripture where it said, and I'll look for it, that he can reach you even down there?
Well, there is interpreted a verse that talks about Jesus having led captivity captive. And the theology would be that he's actually went to hell and preached the gospel. So now that seems like you have a pretty good chance of getting people to respond if you're in hell and whatever. But there is that. So, but I will now have to go back and read that a little bit and see. So I'm not above being stumped.
Oh, and and it's not about stumping anybody. It's about really turning on the brain juices, because it's like when I was a little girl, I thought Satan was the ruler of hell. And up until a point, he was supposed to have been. But then Jesus went and got the keys, and now he's the King of Kings, the ruler of all. So that means he rules even there as well.
Okay, well, I know, from what I understand, there are different levels of punishment in hell. Jesus said to a group, woe unto you. If Sodom had seen what you have, they would have repented. And then he says it will be more tolerable for them than you in the day of judgment. So someone has to oversee that. So I'm not sure. You've got me.
Oh, we got 29 seconds.
Praise on Facebook at Praise 1049. It's your source for daily inspiration and empowerment. Like us and tell your family and friends to do the same. Put a praise on your timeline as we bring faith, hope, and inspiration to your fingertips. Follow your favorite radio station on Facebook at Praise 1049.
You are inside Cordial Conversations with Todd Rawlings, and I gotta make one quick announcement, Pastor Rawlings, please forgive me. But the Sisters of Mission Gospel Musical, which was going to be at Mount Zion, it was gonna be somewhere else, but now it is at Place of Redemption Church, 5049 Haygood Road in Virginia Beach. No, I'm saying the wrong thing. The new location is at Mount Zion, ICCC, 2345 East Indian River Road in Norfolk. That's happening this Sunday at 3:30. The Sisters of Mission Gospel Musical is going to be at Mount Zion of Indian River Road. So I just wanted to make that quick announcement. So we are back with Pastor Todd Rawlings, and we are talking about Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda for the Black Community. We're going to touch on vaccines and solutions, and we've got all of 5 minutes to do that.
Well, great. Well, you know, this is actually a lot of fun for me. I like reading statistics and facts, but I do like to express my opinions on things. So here we go. Actually, 2 days ago, I had someone a debate with my cardiologist. He's a friend of mine, and we've got to know a lot of each other through the years, unfortunately. But he was really pushing for me to get the vaccine. Here's the challenges that I have, and I am open to be corrected because I am not an expert on these things. But number one, I never like to be brainwashed. In any situation, and I appreciate Coco mentioning, you know, even with theologies, you know, I'm a pastor, but at the same time, I want to give the view on whether it's eternal security, on whether it's whatever. Well, here's what I believe, but here's what the other Christians believe. Now you decide. And so some of those things. Now certainly there's some we can't. You know, we don't. You know, we have to firmly grasp. But I don't like to be brainwashed, and it just seems like it's back to the government, and which I talk so much about. But when they give you just one side of the story, over and over and over, and I have the same problem with global warming. It's not that I'm opposed to it. I want to hear both sides, and people try to set up debates, and you know the people for global warming refuse to come, and so I want to hear them. I want to hear what they had to say. So my doctor had given me his spiel, and I said, well, here's a question I have. Have you really studied and researched this? And he said, oh, absolutely. And I said, in what way? He said, I've been to seminars, I've been to this, so we watched this video, it was mandatory, we did this, this, and this. And I said, great. And they all said the vaccine is absolutely necessary. He said, yes. I said, have you read any scientists or doctors, whatever, that here over on this side that say no? He said, no. I said, then in all due respect, you've been brainwashed. I'm not saying it's wrong, but you were told one thing over and over. We want to hear the other side. And there are lots of scientists and doctors that are out there. And if you email me, I can send you some of those in the websites who would say that, no, this is the worst thing you can do. I'm not saying it is the worst thing you can do, but give me the both sides. And both sides. And I get so frustrated with the media and the government that they're just so often out to promote an opinion and not give me the facts. I'm not, you know, so much, they treat us like we're stupid. I'm sorry, but that's what it is.
Like we're sheeple.
Exactly. So I would encourage everyone, study it. There's lots of places on the internet that you can hear from both sides. So listen to both sides. And I have a lot. And I have an opinion, which I will back away from.
And his
for
email
now
is rawlingsmt@verizon.net if you'd like to email him for those studies and everything he's talking about. rawlingsmt@verizon.net.
Well, here are quickly some of the challenges I have, though. Number one, the speed of which it was approved. In my younger days, I invested in some companies that had drugs coming to market and found out that the average drug takes 7 years to come to market. 7 years. So here's what I want to say. I want to look at the FDA and say, have you lied to us for all these years? You mean we didn't need to take 7 years? Why have we held drugs off the market that could help people? And they would say this, I'm sure, it was necessary. Why was it necessary? Well, to make sure that they're safe. Oh, but this one, we don't have to make sure it's safe? One of the things they do in these trials is they'll inject an animal and then watch them for 2 years to see what the effect has. So before you approve something, you have to see the long-term effect. Well, we don't know the long-term effect of this. And people say, well, I got it and I feel fine. That doesn't mean in a year you will, or 2 years you will. So,
and we don't want to scare those. We're not trying to put fear in anyone who has been vaccinated. Please do not feel that way.
But we have to be careful with immediate satisfaction. As long as it'll help me today, it doesn't matter about tomorrow. And I will disclose this: my wife and 4 children have all been vaccinated. So we had these discussions.
But you haven't.
I have not.
See, okay.
You got me in the corner there.
Well, the only reason why I asked that because you said your wife and your 4 children. You didn't say me and my family. And the thing is, you're not letting it pull you apart.
No.
You're not going to disown your children or your wife because you decided not to get the vaccine and they decided to get the vaccine. And that's what's happening, People are getting vaccinated and then going against someone who says they're not going to be vaccinated.
Well, that's right. And the other thing that's difficult is, in my case, every one of my family members were forced to do it because of their jobs, because of what they did. They had to do it. Now, that doesn't mean that they did it kicking and screaming. They did. They were, I'm going to get vaccinated, and my lovely daughter continues to beat it in my head that I need to go get vaccinated. But the next thing is this: I'm concerned about the effectiveness of it, because there's a lot of people that have gotten the vaccine that are now getting the virus. And right away, whenever we're told, okay, get the vaccine, but after you get it, you still need to wear a mask. Wait a minute, I thought I got a vaccine. What? No, but you need to wear a mask as well. And you look at people like we mentioned Jesse Jackson earlier. Jesse Jackson was one of the first to get the vaccine. He wore a mask virtually everywhere he went, and he and his wife, as of last week, were in the hospital with the virus. So it didn't work. And again, it doesn't mean that it won't. I mean, I hope it gives some people some type of closure, security with it. And I know I'm running out of time here, but so with that, I sometimes I'll make decisions on philosophical things and what have you, but number one, I get a little stubborn because I don't want to be brainwashed or bullied and lied to.
Exactly.
And that's one of the problems that we've had with this from the beginning. Instead of our officials getting together and saying, hey, this is a dangerous thing in our country, let's get together and forget the politics. What can we do for the American people? That was never done. And so because of that, people like me then distrust. Because you were trying to get votes by handling this way instead of just getting together people you may not even like and say, hey guys, our country is in a tough spot here. What do you think we should do? And instead it's got to be politicized. And so it has been all along. So even now I look and go, are you telling me that for political reasons? Or are you telling me it because you love me? I'm afraid it seems like political reasons. But I continue to pray about it, and I am open to information. And another one of the sad things is, I don't think anyone from this station, but when you have an opinion like this, right away you'll be called stupid and ignorant and everything else, and I don't like that either.
Yeah. We do have to bring it to a close, but once again, this has been Cordial Conversations with Pastor Todd Mullins. You can get his book, Killing Me Softly, America's Hidden Agenda with the Black community, and also his other books, Dealing with the Pain in Our Lives, and 10 Minutes More on Amazon at Amazon.com, and email him by emailing him at rawlingsmt@verizon.net. He will be back next Thursday at 2 o'clock, and we look forward to it. Any last comments?
That's it. Just if you're watching by way of YouTube, please subscribe and hit the like button. And thank you all for your patience. I know we talk about some very difficult things, but as long as we do it cordially, I think we can help each other out and we can learn from each other.
Amen. Willie Moore Jr.'s on your radio in about 1 minute and 30 seconds. Have a great Thursday.
Okay, I want to forward you an email with a site that you can listen. There's 2 people, but listen to the second one. Listen to both of them.
Okay.
But the second one has more information, and it's one of the it's just one of the best things that I've heard. Let me see here.
All right. Good show. Good show.
I was told I got a note after the break the audio didn't come back on.
Well, on your YouTube?
On the show. I've got a couple people saying, where'd you go?
We were up. 'Cause
Yeah, I don't know.
we're up. Well, they were listening on the internet.
They didn't say.
Yeah, ask them where, on the radio or the internet.
Yeah, okay.
1650 Portsmouth and 92.5. Powered by New Beach Grove Baptist Church, Beach Bomb Drive, Newport News, newbeachgrove.org. Dr. Willard Maxwell, pastor. Praise Radio.
Junior.
Okay, what's your email address?
I am a winner. One word. I am a winner.
I am a winner. Okay.
524 @gmail.com.
They said they were listening in the car.
Ask them which
They-
one, probably was 104.9.
Okay.
Ask them was it 104.9 or 92.5?
Okay, let me get this email
The
to you
numbers are right
first.
here.
Okay. Yeah, it's not long, but listen to especially the second guy. The first guy is worth listening to as well. But listen to the second guy. It is amazing
Okay.
what he has to say. And I'm again a doctor, practicing doctor, whatever.
Well, first of all of this is a farce, and I'll tell you why. It's a cover-up for the pedophilia that is going on in the government with Jeffrey Epstein, who did not kill himself. He's still alive. He probably escaped in Israel somewhere. And Ghislaine, his girlfriend,